Let's do 1, 2, 3. That was perfect and on time.
It was.
Let's do one like this.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Could have been better. Want to do one more?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
There it is.
I am here with one of my most favorite people in the whole wide world. This is Bubs Rubino, and that is a very Italian name because he is, and that's not an insult. He's also Canadian. I just found that. You're going to find that out. We're not striking that. We're going to talk about who he is, where he's from, which I just found out was fucking Canada. Bleep that out for when they can find out in the interview.
That's fucking obvious.
But this is my very good friend, Bubs Rubino. He is co-founder of rather Unique Curative, has cut his teeth for a long time in hip hop, rave scenes, just a little bit of everything. And we're going to talk about all of that in his studio. And I promise that I'm going to do a good job.
We're gonna do great. Yeah. I mean, I don't think without leaving the corporate job that we would have propelled like so quickly over the summer. I mean, just over the summer with like 3 videos dropped. We're recording every day and shit. Like, there's no way I would have had time to do that. You know?
Right.
So it was either like going to be one or the other.
Who were you recording over the summer?
Mostly Nate.
Yeah.
Nate the Mosaic.
Love him.
I mean,
I thought I told you that you destined for more. Slightly open, let it get to your core. Worth 1,000, but it could be more.
There's artists that are floating in and out of here constantly. Giuliani, Henry B.
Yeah.
Called Collective. Jay's Local Cats. There's a lot of cats that come in and out. The one thing that through the process, like me and Nate work constantly. We are in this room several times a week for 4 or 5 hours. Nate the Mosaic, my brother, creative partner, creative inspiration, definitely one half of Rather Unique.
Right.
I started Rather Unique solo years back, but over the years, and me and Nate have only been rocking together for like 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah.
It kind of started off me DJing for him.
Where did you meet him?
Met Nate at what is that spot behind the new parish? My oh my.
Yeah,
I had a summer residency with Norman Bass back there, and it was just like a little Sunday kickback, if you recall.
I do.
Yeah. That's where I met Nate.
Nice.
He was in Norman's band at the time. I met him and Big Nothing there.
Okay.
And DJ'd for them kind of on a whim. Like, they came down and me and Norman were DJing. They were going to do some live sets down there. And they just had the flash drive kind of deal. Like, hey, man, here's my joints,
Classic. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And, we rocked like quick little 10-minute sets. And it was just like, for me, that's when it clicked right there. Like, there's a lot of talented MCs in Austin. Just nothing that has connected with me in a way like what I grew up listening to, and kind of like that bar heavy New York style boom bap type stuff, which is a really hard. It's more of a challenging crowd.
Yeah.
And it's a more of a challenging sell for that sort of thing here in Texas or in Austin. So it kind of clicked for me right then, because those dudes are super talented rappers, and I was just like, "Yo, they were riding the drops. I was doing some dropouts and everything, just adding those little nuances to their set, and they were handling it very well. Because sometimes you can be the stage DJ. Yeah. People are coming up for and handing you those thumb drives, and you'll know like a song in like. I shouldn't really mess with this too much. Like, if I'm going to do a dropout on a 4 count of a bar, like, this dude's going to turn around and be like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And these dudes were riding, they were riding those drops well and all the effects and everything. And it was just like everything kind of, we all locked in kind of right at that moment. Right. I was like, man, I've been doing this for a minute, working with MCs, and like, I can, let's build your stage shows up a little bit. And we've just been kind of rocking together ever since. And Frederick Boom too.
Yeah, love that. I was thinking about him. I haven't seen him in probably a year or longer.
He's
but
making.
It's my fault. I haven't been out.
Yeah. So that's how me and Nate locked in, and then the recording really is like, I really only started recording in late last year, and I had never recorded an MC before. I had some of the gear and everything that had been handed down to me, but I had never really engineered a studio session like that.
Did you go on how to? We're like how to engineer?
Yeah.
Do.com.
So many YouTube videos. It was really just kind of like, man, knowing how to get everything, your chain lined up and recording right.
Sure.
I didn't really know about mixing channels and mastering channels, and the chains of kind of like your compression and when to put on certain limiters and EQs and stuff. And that's something we've kind of just learned as we went. And thankfully, Nate, the Mosaic, has a work ethic where it's just like, he wants to get busy in the studio constantly. Right. And it's a good working relationship. We just kind of have been learning together as we go, and we've just gotten really good at it in the workflow.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when I was more comfortable to start opening up the studio to more artists.
Is he from here?
Nate the Mosaic, born in San Antonio, raised in Austin.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's the one that taught me about Countdown City. I'm pretty sure that was him. He's like, Countdown City. And I was like, what? He goes, 210. And I was like, I'm also from San Antonio. So like, yeah. And it's like, go Spurs, go. Yeah. It's a big one for us. So like Nate, so he comes in here, y'all link up at this show. And then looking at the style of hip hop, you and I both like the same shit. Like we like that harder East Coast stuff. The boom bap, I'm open to all kinds of things, but that's where I got started. And you from the Midwest, which is also a whole other style that I love. I love Midwest rap. I don't care. I like Midwest rap. I like a rhyme sayer. No, there's some good rhyme sayer shit. Yeah. There's like some other, like Typical Cats is always Typical Cats is one of my favorite fucking crews ever, still to this day. But you are also from that area. Polish hot dogs, hot beefs.
Yeah.
White Castles.
Yeah. I'm not from Chicago proper, just to clarify. You don't say you're from proper if you're not.
Yeah, for sure.
Because somebody catches you that is from proper, you could be catching some knuckles.
100%.
Yeah. Right. But Greater Chicagoland area.
Yeah.
I was born in Toronto, Canada. My father was doing some schooling over there. I know, I'm Canadian.
Really?
Surprise! It explains a lot.
How far? Where's Toronto? I'm so bad at geography. Where's Toronto? Like, here's the Mitt, right? Like, here's Michigan. Like, so it was Toronto.
Yeah, you're pretty much right there, man. I mean, if you're at the top of Detroit, you can see.
So here's
city.
Just as an aside, is that I went to Windsor once, and I walked in. I wanted to get an espresso, and I walked into this spot, and one, I didn't change my money, and they're very strict about that. But two, I go in, I'm like, there's nobody in this shop, and I look. It was just like fucking Goodfellas, literally, because, like when he tries to send homegirl down that alley, I could see straight down. I saw like all these Italian dudes, and they like looked at me, and they all got up from a table. They're having to sit down of some sort. Maybe they're just going over inventory, but it looked like I was going to die. Yeah. And I tried to get my espresso, and I didn't have the fucking currency. And he's like, just get out of here. And I was like, I think that the gangsters, mafia, respectfully, like some of them went there. You're Italian. That's why I'm calling this out. I'm piecing it all together. Yeah. Italian from Canada. Okay, I don't. You had to go there. Like your family had to go there.
Yeah.
So you're born in Toronto, then you go to to Illinois. You got the.
Yeah. My pops was just doing some schooling in Toronto, so we only lived there for like a year. I don't really recall too much.
Yeah.
They had a dog that hated me. That's about it.
Was it a Chihuahua?
Yeah. Nah, it was like a beagle. I don't know.
A white person's Chihuahua.
It's fine. He's dead now.
When did hip hop touch your heart? You're growing up in the MTV area. Like you and I are similar ages, so like MTV was a huge influence on us. And I remember like MTV Raps. Obviously, it was like a life-changing, monumental thing. But like, were you doing hair rock before that, or?
Well, being from the suburbs, I mean, it didn't really hit until it was more of kind of a national, starting to go global type of thing. So MTV Raps for sure. My mother's side of the family, the Sicilian side of the family, was all located in different parts of Boston and Connecticut, and it was starting to trickle, over there. And I would go visit with them, visit my Nonna with my mom. And
Very Italian.
yeah. Man, yes, for sure. It was old school, just duplex with my great aunt and my nonna.
Yeah.
Some woman who was much older named Mama, didn't speak a lick of English, looked like Harry Carey. She just had giant Coke bottle glasses. She wore muumuu all day. She didn't speak a lick of English, and she would just hit me with this stick sometimes when she didn't like what I was doing. When she passed away, they gave me the stick, which was pretty fucked up, I thought. But all the cousins who were a little bit older were starting to get into some of the East Coast stuff. And then there was some older cats when I was in grade school that I was maybe in 4th or 5th grade, and started hanging out with some of the older kids. I think because I was already causing some trouble. So it was like, looking to the older kids who had more opportunities to cause trouble. I just kind of started flowing with them. And a lot of the stuff the first 2 things I got into were actually not anything East Coast or Midwest. It was Snoop Dogg's first album.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what really hit me though was Cypress Hill's first album.
Yeah.
I was in Connecticut with my mother and my aunt in a Kmart, and I wanted the Cypress Hill tape, Beastie Boys' License to Ill. I didn't know what they were either. And then Skid Row, I think the album was Monkey on My Back. Or maybe that was one of the singles on it.
Is that 18 and left?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a Midwest shit. It was like rock at the time. You could hear it coming out of everybody's backyard. And so, I went up to my mom. Security was very low at Kmart's at the time, or just in shopping in general. I went and asked my mom for him. She said no.
Right.
So I boosted them.
Yeah.
But I was like a little kid. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was like, well, I'm just going to take these. I don't see anything wrong with that. I want them. Started a long career. But yeah, so, I took those. And the Cypress Hill was like words, when you're little and there's like words and songs that you had no business singing.
Right.
And it was like, how could I just kill a man? And it's like talking about shotguns and, I didn't really, it wasn't clicking with me yet, So I think that was kind of, and that was super bar. I thought they were from the East Coast, even when I was like getting older,
Right. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So that's kind of what got me into just hip hop in general. How I started gravitating more towards East Coast stuff, I think, was just through the content,
Yeah.
I liked the look.
Yeah.
I was like an active listener though.
Yeah.
There was words. There was a lot of words being used that weren't familiar to me, and I wanted to know what they meant. I wanted to know kind of the language that they were using. I didn't want to just assume anything, and it did really begin a journey of a lot of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Things that were brought to light through their stories as youth from certain areas, that I don't think, being a white kid from the suburbs, politically I would have ever been introduced to.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been informed about the way our government red and green lights neighborhoods and puts people into a certain box and keeps them there for political gain or financial gain. Learned a lot about the 5% nation. So I'm super thankful for it. I think I would be a completely different person. I think my 100%. Mind would not be as open, I think a lot of hip hop is all about, and some, for better or worse, it's like still a lot of nostalgia. The underground scene especially is all about keeping certain aspects alive of like that golden era of hip hop. And like, if you want to say I've like put myself into a corner in a box because of that, it's like fine. Like, yeah, like we're just big kids who still love graffiti. We love wrestling. We love comic books. It's like it's the collecting thing too. It's a collector aspect of it.
He's got Spawn #1, Image, and Max #1, and we came in here and I was like, "Is that?"
Yeah, I mean, I got toys that I had when I was a kid, mixed with toys that I bought, 2 years ago. So, and I love that. I mean, it makes me happy. So,
Sure.
to do something that makes you happy on a regular basis, and reminds you of times when like just joy and like what basically influenced or sparked my what I do now creatively.
Right.
Like, why wouldn't I want that around?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I don't care. Like, I'll be a grumpy old hip hop guy, and just because I don't like a lot of stuff doesn't mean I hate it. It's just like
Yeah.
it's not for me. Like,
Right.
I don't believe in shitting on other people's choices of music, because music should bring you joy, and why shit on anyone's joy?
Right.
But like, I am kind of stuck in a certain era. But the underground that's going on now, like, still keeps that aesthetic alive.
Yeah.
Um,
I've noticed. I've seen it. Been to rather unique shows here in town, and love when y'all do something for South by. Anybody y'all bring down that's like not from here also is superb, and I feel as if I don't think that I've had like a genuine hip hop experience like since y'all. I mean, besides what y'all have been doing, since y'all have been doing this, that's what's given me the genuine hip hop experience in town. I really haven't, but also again, like I haven't really gone out. I've only been on my scooter. My scooter keeps breaking down, so like, like I
yeah,
haven't gotten out a
that
lot.
thing you can only go on the frontage road. Like, you can't go very far on it. Like,
I know, like
if you do, it's gonna take
my
a while.
light's not very bright, guys. I can't see it.
Yeah, I would recommend it. I crashed that Grom in the garage a couple of years ago. It's like, it's a very small bike with a very small headlight.
That's all
Once it gets dark out, you
right.
kind of need to park them.
And I can't listen to music, so I'm just like rapping the same song over and over again like a crazy person.
Yeah.
In my head, because you can't keep your mouth open because a bug will get in there. So I'm just like.
Well, you got the open visor front.
I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Do you have?
No.
You have a closed one?
It's too many bugs.
Yeah,
in
for
the
sure.
nose and the mouth.
Get a lot of construction dust on me on the way here.
Yeah.
So I would I talked with Tony Moon Doctor about this. I think we're still trying to. We had anyways. I talked to Tony Moon Doctor about this because he's from Chicago. He's from the North Midwest, and this is my theory back in the day like that. People who grew up in colder climates, and I knew this specifically from people in the Midwest, especially, is like because y'all also have basements. That when it's cold, like all y'all do is just do the thing that you like, right? You're like, I'm gonna just make beats all fucking winter, which is 8 months long or something, or like I'm gonna break dance in my basement, like, and everybody's so good at what they do up there, and here we're great too. We're very good. We're very good. We're very artistic. We're very good. However, there's so many margaritas and so much sun and so many things to do that sometimes projects take a little bit longer or never come to kind of fruition. And I think that if it was colder, like the climate crisis really hit, then maybe it wouldn't be Pipe Dream Records for us anymore. Yeah. But Productions.
Yeah, I mean, the warmer climate here does offer more distractions. There's always a pool somewhere. There's always a rooftop to have a drink.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were outside a lot as kids though too, man. You grow up in the cold like that. Like, you do things like ice skate on lakes. You know what I mean? Like frozen bodies of water.
Mm-mm.
It's crazy.
I don't like that.
Yeah, you just shovel out a big ass square and you get a hockey game going, snowmobiling.
You're saying these things, and all I'm going through in my head is how many people have died doing these, which is crazy because it's like just like if it's in a movie, obviously it's like a Chekhov's gun. They're going to show somebody dying or like falling through the ice, and it's not going to be like, and then they just ice skated and then walked away. Like there's going to be some tragedy.
Yeah,
like,
well,
yeah, but it's fine. Obviously, you're here.
These things happen.
Friends
If you're going to go ice
here.
skating on a frozen lake, you gotta just accept the fact you might lose some friends. So.
That's
You
like
didn't
the
have to lace
streets
up.
for
You didn't
y'all.
have to lace up the skates. You could have said no that day.
So charge it to the game being a frozen pond.
I mean, I think a lot of kids that grew up in the Midwest did lock in, on something. I gave my hand at a lot of creative stuff growing up, and my folks were super supportive.
Oh, that's fun.
My dad was a very, very supportive person. And I went through a lot of phases when I was younger, of course, like every kid does. But I also stuck to a lot of them, and I am just kind of like that same big kid. Like I said, you can see toys in here, and
Yeah.
even when I got toys as a kid, I was like, I'm gonna take I'm a Virgo too, so it's just like, I'm neat, and like I was like, I'm gonna take very good care of this.
Yeah.
It was never just like I'm done with this shit, and like
Yeah.
it goes in a bin. I was like, I'm gonna put this back in a box. But my pops was super supportive when he saw that I was good at drawing. I had made some doodles in class one day that I actually got in trouble for. They were inappropriate. It was a picture of Alf, but he was letting out like a fart bubble. It was like second grade or something, and he got called and came and picked me up and was like, okay, yeah, talk to the teacher. But then when we left, he was like, yo, that drawing's really good. Like, I didn't know you liked to draw, or that you were this good already. And he found like an after school private art school to put me in, that some woman had, like an extra barn on her property.
Yeah.
And
you're back there with barn cats and shit.
Yeah. It was real run down. It was weird. No, it was a nice spot, and like we did pottery and taught us different watercolors and techniques. And
like a little like Brad, just pottery, like just like
I made a Ninja Turtle, I recall. That was my pottery project.
They're hard. There's a lot of curves.
Yeah.
The cheeks alone.
Yeah, it was bad. It fell apart. Like pottery wasn't my thing, but cartooning and drawing was always my thing. And something I continued through the years. It's turned most of my art that I do visually now is more Photoshop based and video editing stuff. Not so nice with the hand skills and the drawing anymore.
Somebody was just asking me, they're like, hey, do you do graphic design? I was like, define the design part. I was like, drawing you, making it really cute with stuff? Got it. Drawing something original for you?
Yeah, you want me to bootleg some stuff off the internet and like make something out of it. I'm real good with that.
Put a filter over it. This is it's original now. Fuck
Whatever,
off.
some two-tones,
Just kidding, we would fucking never free clip
we
art.
never steal any art off the internet and repurpose it at all.
Do not look at my SoundCloud.
Yeah. I don't Shazam everything before we put it on streaming. But yeah, I mean, and then eventually that turned into, music and, my first pair of turntables. I was a teenager by that point. Again, though, as I went through those phases, my pops had always been very supportive.
But you're getting DJ turntables now, but you're also at this point, because we were also ravers at the same time. So like, were you spinning hip hop? What were you playing with first when you were DJing? Were you doing hip hop or were you doing house?
I was actually doing house. I didn't start DJing until my later teen years.
Yeah.
I would say hip hop fully got me into music. And,
for sure.
And I kind of, when I was younger, I didn't even really, DJing wasn't like the first thing I wanted to do. I wanted to do this. I wanted to be the beat maker. I wanted to be the studio engineer. I wanted to be, I never wanted to be a rapper. I've rapped a little bit here and there back in college, but nothing that I would call myself a rapper. Maybe just some drunken ciphers. But I always knew I kind of wanted to be on this end of it. And how that led to me DJing, it was just more accessible, I think.
Yeah.
And, it's, couple pairs, a pair of turntables, mixer, like rocking, somebody's having a house party.
For sure.
Let me just set up and rock some weird tunes. And, it was really never my intention to be that sort of a DJ though, or, like make a huge name for myself DJing necessarily. But yeah, that's kind of how it led the more technical aspects of it.
Because you were going at first, and I don't know if I'm skipping ahead. We'll skip around. We'll Tarantino it. You did a Hoodie Allen was like your first DJ name, right? What was it?
Yeah, that was one of them. There's been many of
that
them.
One.
Yeah, when I first moved here, I was going by Hoodie Allen. So funny. And
problematic now. We can't use it's a Woody Allen reference, and like it's
yeah, it's no good. Yes, I was going by Hoodie Allen.
And now Bubs Rubino.
Yes, so Bubs was a nickname that my pops gave me when I was little.
Cute.
Like some of the first words I remember was him calling me Bubs. And I think it wasn't anything special. It was like kind of how you call your dog like Bubby.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
What a bub.
Yeah, what's up, Bubs?
So it wasn't like, I think my dad was just calling me like, what a bub, like this is a baby, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he just called me Bubs, he's always called me Bubs. Rubino's actually my family from Sicily's like name.
Oh.
So it is a real nickname and then a real name.
Because I was all like, I thought like, man, he made up this very Italian name, like it's kind of like a caricature of like, I was like, you're like, no, that's the family name, we're Rubino.
Yeah, no, yeah, we're Rubinos. That was the first people to
that's
come
great.
over from Sicily and somewhere in Connecticut.
Yeah.
So yeah, nickname and then real family name. And I'm definitely just gonna stick with that one.
In the lineage.
There's been a million DJ names for sure.
So you do rap towel, like Bubs is very much known for rap towels, like just crisp white wipe the sweat off. Texas is hot, but also it's good to have a wrap towel if you know
Guys, I don't have one on right now.
So you got here in 2008. So you're DJing, you're doing house shows, you're going to raves, and I got to talk about the rave scene during the 90s because it was a monumental time for us, especially in Chicago. Like that's where house music started, and in fucking warehouses. There's so many warehouse parties, I'm sure, and y'all were still wearing the big pants, keeping it strong there.
Yo, yeah.
Lots of drum and bass. Phantom 45, still one of my favorites from there. Strong scene. Pretty kind of jealous.
I think I still have some UFOs.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same pants I wear now.
I mean, I got some generic ones up on Amazon, and I was watching.
Take the straps out of the cargo pants.
This guy was like kind of show me the back of his head at a South by Southwest Flavorful thing. I have no idea why. I was playing like an old video, but this chick that was lead singer, she was wearing pink UFOs, and I was like, oh shit, those are fucking old rave pants. But he wasn't trying to listen to what I was saying because he was only talking about himself. However, it was nice to see that they're still in print.
Yeah.
Still baby pink ones.
I wonder if you have to do like vintage searching for those, or if they're still readily available.
I have looked because they are still readily available. They did come back into season. I found all of my old big pants. I still have them, and I still fit into them. So, but I think I can sell them probably for $100 a pair on eBay. That kind of thing. So grab out your UFOs, and that's our other gig.
Yeah,
we're selling old rave clothes on eBay.
Rave clothes, vintage. I have some like triple XL.
Nautica
soul hoodies.
Ooh, you got something like a Nietzsche or something.
Oh man,
good time.
Yeah, I mean, growing up in the Midwest, there was a lot of warehouse raves and loft parties and stuff, and I mean that was cool. Those were still back in the days where you'd know about a party, you'd have a flyer, but you'd have to show up at a parking lot, and then you would find out, how to get to the warehouse, and all guerrilla style a lot of the time, just generators and stuff. And then there was some more official shit. But I mean, even the official shit was just like, it was dangerous times, man. It was just warehouses with big ass fans and a lot of kids sweating it out.
So you're like, when are you doing hip hop from going to house into hip hop?
I mean, so like learning how to DJ, it was just like those kind of 4 on the floor beats. It was a little bit easier to learn how to beat match and shit, right? So, and I still love to rock a house set every once in a while.
So good.
I don't really know at what point though. I mean, I would say I made a transition. Like in the Midwest, like all the hip hop kids and all the house kids were like all this kind of mixing and blending together.
For sure.
You would see the same kids, the guys throwing the after parties and the raves. You would see them at the hip hop shows and vice versa. It was much more of a mixed crowd. I don't know if it was just the area at the time. I don't really see that as much here or currently. So I had been DJing for a couple of years, like out of high school, like right at the end of high school, and then into my first attempt at college. Which wasn't very successful. Didn't like classes very much, but. I moved back from Colorado, where I, like I said, attempted to do some schooling, and really got into DJing out there. The kid across the hall from me, I loved house, but he was into like real deep jungle breaks and everything.
Right. Yeah.
I moved back from Colorado, and I had some friends from high school go down to Southern Illinois, which is about 6 hours south of Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Down there is where I think. I made more of a transition to DJing lots of other types of music that I had already been into. Experimenting with like a lot of different types of groups, and like I would spin like some breaks and this and that. And the homie down there, Tony Kim, Modern Optics, Tony. That's where I met Intel and Pickle through.
Yeah.
Bunch of those homies. He was, I had been collecting records, and this was still, Serato didn't exist yet or anything like that. Even though I didn't have a chance to play out a lot of records, I was collecting a lot of East Coast hip hop records, singles and everything like that. And it kind of started to mix into that crowd. Because I was always attending, that was very much my scene. But, I wasn't DJing as much hip hop. Tony Kim was leaving Southern Illinois and kind of passed those nights off to me.
No, nice.
And I think that's when I really kind of, focused in on that. But there was times too where it's the same thing. I mean, I would throw a hip hop show, and that kind of evolved into how I really got into like curating shows and everything too.
Right.
Because we would have like a friend's punk band open up, and then some MCs and whatnot, and that's where I also started to learn a lot about tour management and artist management, because we would small artistic, like kind of artsy fartsy college town. Cut out artsy fartsy. That sounds very old and white of me to say. But working with booking agents and touring DJs, so that's where I met Typical Cats through. So having that regular stage where we had a weekly, because that's what Tony passed on, and it was just like we have to do something consistent or better than the last week all the time.
Right.
And if we don't, we kind of failed. So bringing in touring artists, we started to bring in the Typical Cats, brought Murs down, Blueprint.
I love Blueprint.
Man, I just reconnected with Al like 2 months ago here, and I hadn't seen him in like 20 years.
He did a show here?
He did a show at Flamingo Cantina. Yeah. And I was like, yo, and he was just like, what? Wait, who? And I was like, Southern Illinois, man. And he was just like, holy shit.
Wow.
It had been at least 15 plus years.
Yeah.
So just bringing through touring artists and managing those nights, I think really was the beginning of what has led all the way to here.
Absolutely.
Just curating, knowing how to manage artists, artist
Yeah.
time, artist money, working with booking agents or
Knowing
directly
who
with
sounds
the
good together, what makes a good show, right? Like also as well, even if you're doing a juxtaposition of like punk and rap, it's like still how do you make those, right? Like
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think the word curator is grossly overused these days. Like slap a bunch of shit together and I curated this.
Right.
It's like, okay,
Yeah.
the little bit more thought and like aesthetic needs to go in
For sure.
into things.
That's how I feel about my meme page, _doomscroll at Instagram.com. And just as an aside for the crowd out there, he mentioned Typical Cats. I mentioned it in the early 2000s. This is probably all part of me, like trying to just get deeper into like, more rap and stuff. And I found the Galapagos 4 hip hop message forum, which back in the day, that's what we did. Like there wasn't Instagram, Facebook. We would all get onto a message board, which I'm thinking about making one from Austin, calling it Leslie's Thong. I don't know. Anyways, it's a pipe dream, maybe. But message forum, get in there, make a message. And like we have the same friends before we even knew each other. Like we met in like 2015 or something like that. But like for 15 years, we've had the same friend group, which was crazy.
It was interesting to find out that a lot of the same cats we knew.
Yeah.
And man, good folks, like just that Midwest work ethic and that Midwest kind of like community. I think the Midwest taught me a lot about community. Even just growing up as a kid, like there was no internet, we're old. We were running around outside, like you were in someone's backyard or in someone else's home all the time. Somebody else's parents fed you if you just happen to be there. Like, okay, well, you're here at lunch. What do you want? I think that Midwest kind of work ethic and attitude and will always stay with me. Like I'm in Texas now for a minute, but like I'm definitely a Midwest boy over and over again, and it's just hardworking blue collar people, man, that like to have a beer and barbecue all together in the backyard sometimes, and like that's
sausage.
Yeah. And I think like I said, that kind of like really established like community based like a mind frame, through and through. Like I've always been somebody who wants to be someone who not be a gatekeeper, right? Like now that I have all this experience or like I've had these experiences over the last 20 something years, it's like how can I take that? Like even when I was younger, it was just like, okay, I have an opportunity to like put someone on a stage where we can help them like grow as an artist.
Right.
Giving people a platform to use those avenues and that platform however they want to as an artist, and being there to help them do so, I think is something that I always knew that that's the reason why I was here. That was going to be my role and my position in as a creative involved in either music or art or whatever, taking people's talents and giving them a positive, safe work environment to like really truly express themselves, and not have any hidden agendas. You know what I mean? This isn't for me. I have nothing to gain from this. Like I find a lot of joy and satisfaction and abundance.
Peace, love, unity, and having fun.
Yes.
Which was the original motto for hip hop.
Yeah.
The hip hop. It's also like, I mentioned like crowd control, these other things that are, but finding that space and like understanding like the operations of it, like physically, but also mentally of it is like a whole other skill too. So it's like a long time training that you're doing for yourself to like now where you're at with Rather Unique, like,
And it's an area too where, a lot of artists either don't want to navigate or don't know how to navigate, or it takes away from their like just true creativity, right? If you find an artist that, doesn't necessarily want to be out shaking hands all the time, or they don't want to deal with like certain little nitpicky details, that's somewhere that I found, being a creative, but also having a lot of business sense that my pops instilled in me. My mom was wild and super creative, and my dad was very like locked in business, and logistics and attention to detail, right? And I think a lot of that stuff can take away from a person who's just trying to sit down and create just to create. Like I said, I find a lot of abundance and joy in what I do by giving them the avenues of like, don't worry about that shit. Like I got
for
it.
sure.
You know what I
And
mean?
you're right. Like that is like, we know so many artists people, and time and time again that artist people that they're like, fuck, I just don't want to do the marketing part of it, or I just don't want to do these other parts of it, but it's like such a huge thing that you have to do. So like, having a team of people who can do that, as I look at Beats Within team, like it takes a community to raise a barn.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, some of it can be tedious, but I've always just I've enjoyed it. Like I enjoy that mundane some shit, you know what I mean? So,
it's a Virgo in you.
It is.
It looks like
Let me organize this a little bit. There's a container and a bin for everything, and everything goes in its place. So that's really kind of where I found what I enjoyed was in Illinois. It is a small college town, though. We had been there for a minute, and we came here for South by a couple times just to attend. Had some friends that had moved here from Southern Illinois after college. I think the second year I actually came with Pickle and Intel, or met them here.
Yeah.
And they put me on a show. They booked me. They had worked out a showcase of some sort, even though they're not from here either. I'd have to look back. It was so long ago.
I remember the year that they did come down here because, like Kid Static, who we should have on the Moses, Kid Static, we should also have him on here. You've met him. Tall guy raps.
Yeah.
From the Midwest, from Chicago. Like I think there was down that year. Anyways.
Yeah, he knows all the homies. I met him through you, and then we've connected on a few things as well. A few
and I
shows.
only bring that up because I don't think I met you during that trip, but they were down here as well, and I remember them. Great. That was a great South by.
It was.
Which obviously said you're going to move here. Had such a fun time.
Yeah, I was one of those people. I was like, oh, I'm gonna move here. I love it here.
I'll take it. You should. That was a good era for like. I mean, like the people who were moving down here during those South bys were artists. Like they weren't douchey. They were artists, and so yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It did bring a lot of really talented artists. It was still a different time, right? I mean, a lot of what
it's a different time. but it was a different time.
Yeah, I know. Well,
like
I'll probably
presidents ago.
So yeah, I came here, got into a few different things. Kind of was starting to make my way around the DJ circuit. Linked up with a lot of people at the old Barcelona. Got in there right away. Was DJing.
Who were you playing? Were you doing like dubstep or like
I got linked up with the Irresponsible Voltron crew back in the day.
Oh shit.
That was like Chi, Mars.
Was Shane in Shark Week?
Parsons. No, Shane was in.
He was doing Mad Classy.
Classy.
That's right. That's right. I just talked to him the other day.
And then Bobby and all those cats were doing weight at Plush. Bobby. Coming out.
Midwest, it is.
Midwest too much, yeah. They were doing weight at Plush, so, and that's how I got to meet all of them. But I brought like a little bit more of like they were all pretty much like dubstep and some old, some old, yeah. I definitely brought, a little bit more of a house feel to it.
Yeah.
And that was good times, but like, 4 or 5 dudes in a DJ booth all partying and everything.
It just smelled crazy in there.
Oh man, the stank.
The stench.
No, also just like the chaos of being in that sort of situation.
For sure.
But then I was going to Barcelona and playing like, rap and top 40 on the weekends too, Yeah, and then Broken Teeth, how did that happen? Broken Teeth was a collective from like New York, and they had some producers in like Germany and everything. Anna lived down here, and
oh my gosh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Mike, one of the founders of Broken Teeth, was in Dallas, and they would bring some artists through, and I would help them get some venues. I had started like the old Beauty Bar in Barcelona,
right?
So eventually, just kind of became part of that crew.
Yeah.
And me and Anna were kind of the face of Broken Teeth here in Austin.
Yeah.
And we had some regular residencies at Plush, Barcelona. We were bringing through, a lot of producers at that time. Those types of producers, they would come through and just do DJ sets. A lot of their own tunes and remixes and whatnot. So we were just booking regular artists coming through, like Plush, Barcelona. We got hit with a cease and desist from a heavy metal band in Austin, also called Broken Teeth.
Now I'm going to bring up the story. Okay, wait, sorry, continue.
Yeah.
That's
that was it. That was cease.
So
I ceased and I desisted.
That time, right? Because that's like mid 2000s. Like that's between like 2006, just 2000, somewhere in there. Like where is that?
Well, I didn't get here till 2008, late 2008. So this is like 2011, 2010.
Yeah. I was like hanging out with my friend, and I was making beats, like just crudely. I was like, we were trying to be Broken Face. We didn't know about Broken Teeth, and we saw Broken Teeth, and we were Broken Face, and we are like, we gotta change the name. Like they have more of a presence. We can't be Broken Face.
They broke the whole face. We were only like
we broke the face. They broke in the teeth of the eye, the windows of the soul. Like. But we remember like that, so we
should have linked.
I know for sure, because we were like, look, we're holding the flyer and probably angry, like shaking our fists or whatever. Yeah.
We could have gotten, we could have broken the whole body. We could have really full body cast. We could have all linked up and.
You can't give us all a cease and desist.
Yeah.
Very litigious, Broken Teeth.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we got hit with a cease and desist from the heavy metal band because I think like we were, if you searched, at that time, like we were starting to be at the top of some of those search.
Get on the SEO game.
And man, and I had gone back to school and was doing the commercial music management program at ACC at the time.
Yeah. Wow.
And I was taking the music law classes. So
academic.
Hey. I was like, I'll get a certificate for this.
You tap it whenever someone comes in.
Yo.
Represent.
I'm going to get a 3.9 GPA for this shit that I've been doing for 20 years already.
School of Hard Knocks.
It's tucked away somewhere here. But so the music law professor, I was like, yo, what can we do about this? And he was like, nothing. They got all their ducks in a row. Like, you're fucked.
Yeah.
And I was just like, cool, we're fucked. And everyone was like, well, should we rebrand? What should we do? I was like, I don't know, man. I'm gonna bounce. Like I'm just gonna I'm gonna sit back.
Yeah.
After that, I had been DJing out for so long and so much, like 5-6 nights a week. Shit gets pretty crazy. I was definitely somebody at that age who, in past that, liked to indulge. So those long weeks of DJing all week and being out in the clubs as I was getting older were definitely starting to wear.
And working during the day, right?
I hadn't yet. Okay. No, I was still full time, like music and art. But that's how I was like, look, man, I need like health insurance and like maybe start saving some money and shit.
Yeah.
And there was quite a few creatives that had gone into the wine industry. I wouldn't call them failed creatives, but I would call them failed creatives. Like just didn't happen at the time. They were in a band that was like about to pop and didn't. And
I mean, that's like, right. It's like so classic. Like that's for sure. I remember having this conversation with my friends too. And I think it was around insurance. Like I don't want to get on the skateboard. What if? Like if I kick an ollie and my fucking 29-year-old ass breaks some teeth.
I think a lot of people went. Wine's cool. It's there's a lot of creative aspects to it. There's a lot of artistic aspects to it, and I think that's why a lot of creatives from music and other areas of art like gravitated towards it.
Right.
I didn't really know that going in. I like a recording engineer buddy who just wasn't pulling in the bucks, like was same boat, and kind of told me about what his job was like, and I was like, I can go throw some cases of wine around. I was started off as a merchandiser at the time, and ended up being like a 11-year career in the wine industry.
Yeah.
Which was a great experience.
It's something you got to know. Like, like it kind of elevates you. You're the person at the dining table. Dining table?
Yes.
How do you call it that?
I don't think it was a great job.
I get nervous whenever somebody hands me a bottle. I get nervous whenever somebody hands me a bottle of or the glass and they're like, is this good? I'm like, just pour it. I broke into sweat ordering it. Just fucking please leave my table.
Leave the bottle.
Leave the bottle.
Walk away.
It's not you, it's me.
Yeah, I mean, it was a cool experience, and after, a decade plus in it, I took a few years off of, doing anything as far as music goes.
Right.
Which is eventually, what led us to Rather Unique.
Mm-hmm.
During those broken teeth times, the homies Applied Pressure.
Right.
Also were we were doing some shows with them. They were really responsible for a huge movement here as far as the beat scene goes. Them and Exploded Drawing.
Right.
Been around forever. Exploded Drawing has always had a lot of those spots, like those off the grid kind of spots, way more DIY punk rock type vibes.
For sure.
Applied Pressure was responsible for bringing a lot of that stuff into like the clubs. And once they started to kind of move into a new level of their performances and out of the clubs, and eventually, kind of disbanded and whatnot, is why I had started to get an itch to do something creative again. I can only go so long, that was kind of an empty space that I saw. I saw that like there was, a lot of the beat scene stuff that was popping up. They were doing them at breweries and coffee shops, and like that's cool. The priority is people being able to still have a conversation, and then there's music. Whereas like we come from an old school where it's like the music is the priority and it's going to be loud as fuck. My ears are going to hurt. And if you want to have a conversation, that takes second to that. You know what I mean? Like we're here for this.
Pick up smoking.
Yeah, go outside and smoke. Smoke cigarettes. Smoke, or creep over closer to the bar, and it's not even that quiet at the bar.
No.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of where Rather Unique was born. And we brought DiBiase down as one of our first big shows. Astro Mega from Toronto was the first person that I brought down here to help launch Rather Unique. And we had Flip Mama, Boom Baptist. It was a great little launch. Shortly after that, I linked with Sunday Dinner. Shout out Sunday Dinner Records. And we co-pro'd that DiBiase show at Empire.
Right.
We still had some old homies at Empire. Still had access to the booking agents there and everything too. So, that was kind of the first year of Rather Unique, and then COVID hit. So that kind of caused me to peel back. Like I think a lot of people during that time were starting to go towards like live streaming type of stuff. How do we have the same presence now online that we had when we were able to do live shows?
Yeah. And
I started to look at that, and I was like, you know what? I can either take this time to do these live streams and all this. I was like, or I can totally switch lanes and turn Rather Unique into more of a label focused type of thing. for the time being.
I think it's a good pivot.
And I didn't really know much about running a label.
Yeah.
I had been pretty much like live event based type of stuff. So it was, I had been making beats since I started Rather Unique. I had never produced any music before that, but I was like, if I'm going to relaunch something creatively or another creative, venture, then like I'm really going to lock in with what I've always wanted to do, which was be a beat maker and kind of an engineer, producer. So I was like, let's get at this. So I was making a lot of beats just locked in here, during the pandemic. And to start the label, I put one single, still my only single song online, available for streaming.
Everybody eats beat.
And that's how we launched the label side of things.
Yeah.
And as things started to open back up again, we started to drop some tapes, and where we could have like little listening parties. Still, things were still kind of sketchy,
But we're in Texas, so
yeah, who cares?
We were done in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we were outside coughing on each other.
It was so over for us before anybody else. We eradicated it.
Yeah. Yeah, and things just kind of grew from there. I mean, still very label focused.
So you were so you're doing yours, and you start out as like you're Rather Unique, right? Like, how many artists were like on that label when you first began? Was it just like you, or were you beginning to pull people in? Like, how many did you start with, and where are you at now?
Yeah, I did. I did a tape drop from a local or a Texas-based artist called Spellworks.
Oh, right.
And then at that same time, speaking of DJ Pickle, Jake Lorenz, him and a homie had made an EP during COVID, and they called themselves Donkey Basketball.
That's right, I have.
And it's very like kind of trip hop, guitar driven. It takes influences from wherever. It's got some scratches on it and stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of sounds, really early, like Beastie Boys before they were rapping.
Yes, it's good. Donkey Basketball.
Yes.
Now available for streaming.
Which I really need to revisit it. I didn't know what I was doing yet.
Yeah.
I think it didn't really get the attention it deserves. Sorry, Jake. I love you. We'll bring it back. We'll do something with it.
It'll be a special edition.
Yeah.
Like the producer's cut.
Yeah, so kind of drop those back to back to launch the label, like my single and then those two projects. Huge learning experience about just the process and working with artists and that kind of like how to go about those, like, because once you have merch, once you have physical drops, like, and that's what the creative's bread and butter is now, like in our lane anyway, like physical, you don't get shit off of streaming. If you don't speak up, you might not be getting paid for even performing, which is a horrible habit that seems to be prevalent, at least here in Austin. Too many people either don't ask about the money. Don't be afraid to ask for your money. Like, get that conversation out of the way. And some people will tell you that, like, oh, well, it's not about the money. It's about the culture. It is, but also like your time and talents,
For sure. That is the culture, is the time and talents. And
so, learning a lot about that though, because once you start to do like how the label aspect works, like putting tapes in people's hands, like you now have a product that like we created together, and we can make a little bit of money off of, and then we can put it into the next project. It's the same. It's the same mentality, right? Like you get the product, you make some money.
I was just about to
You don't spend until you recoup. Yada yada.
Just from what we've seen off of movies.
Yeah. Criminal activity that I've only seen in cinema. But it's been a cool learning experience. And we don't drop super heavy over the last couple of years. It was like drop some stuff from Mo Sample, Manuel Dan, and it's and then we'll kind of navigate from that label back into maybe doing some shows for a while, and it's a lot. It's a huge orbit to have when it's like only myself and like one or two trusted homies,
Right.
kind of running it. So the roster of artists is growing pretty rapidly now that we have the ability to record and produce more music, here in house. So, you
Yeah.
know,
I mean, that's also the big part of it for rappers. I mean, that was what 8 Mile was about, wasn't it? Like, it's like he couldn't find a place to record. No, maybe. I don't know.
you couldn't?
That was always an issue, right? It was like just trying to find a place to record. Like, I remember like walking in somebody, like being in a closet with like shitty sound pads and then like a sock over like a microphone.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of records have come out with like the mic in the bathroom.
Yeah,
You know
for
what I
sure.
mean? Like,
It's great acoustics.
yeah, I mean, so many. I mean, get it done however you need to, right?
Absolutely. But it's definitely an added benefit of being like, hey, we'll record, do the label, doing these other things, and an appeal.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what, we're looking to as Rather Unique. A lot of people ask me what Rather Unique is. Is it a crew? Is it this? Is it that? Like, it's not a crew.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people associate us as a crew because they see us rocking together a lot, like a specific, certain amount of people, like, and that's definitely like the home team, what we call the platoon. But it's really, it's a community more than anything. I think it's just like people trying to provide safe space for other people to create, exist,
Well, you put collective on the end of it sometimes too, right? Rather Unique Collective, or am I imagining that?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, the handle is Rather Unique Curative, right?
A curative, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because a curative is what? A curative, I mean, is to curate. But a curative is also something that heals, So
I love that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we all always need to be healing, right? So
It's not linear.
oof, jeez.
The planets, bro.
So with Rather Unique, I think it's really when people ask what it is, there's no elevator pitch for it really.
Yeah.
Except that it is community. It is something that we want to make sure that, we're inviting people into every opportunity that we have. And showcasing artists and talent, giving them a safe space to express themselves and grow their talents. That's something that, we've done through launching Flip a Beat Club here as well.
That's right. Flip a Beat Club. I've been to some of those. They're so fucking sick.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Flip a Beat Club, shout out Pressing Matters. DiBiase started that with the homie Monzrock out on the West Coast as COVID started to lift as well, where they could get like 7-8 people into a record store. They would get records there in the store and, bring the MPCs, computer 404s, whatever people were using as their hardware for cooking up. And they would, grab 3-4 records there in the record store and then make beats like on the spot.
I love it.
As it started to grow, it started to be, I saw different chapters opening up in California.
Yeah.
And then I saw them open up a chapter. I forget what the next state was, but it was like, oh shit, it's out of state. I hit DiBiase up and just said, yo, man, I'd love to launch a Texas chapter of this.
Cool.
And definitely gave me the blessing, from his experiences when he had been here for the show. He knew we would do it justice. Didn't act on it for like a whole year. We were, I kind of let everything happen when it feels right. Like I'll have an idea and then I can let it sit in the notebook for a minute, and then I don't like forcing anything.
Yeah.
I don't like forcing content, and fuck content anyway. Like make art.
Yeah.
And then if it translates to content, then great. But just no forcing anything. I think where we're at now as artists, or whatever, it's like there's too much keeping up with the Joneses type of shit. There is the whole like content race. Like people, get caught up on their numbers and their analytics, and it's just like
it's winding down now too. I think it's winding down, and I don't think that a lot of people are going to get on board with that either. I think that mentioning like talking about forcing. This is just what I'm hypothesizing, but you are right and all that. Like, I think there was a huge content push, and what you're saying right now is like some is an exercise I'm trying to do with myself, just in life in general. Is like I'm not trying to force it and be like, you know what, as it speak the intuition as it starts to bubble up and speak to you, like, hey, it's not do the flip a beat now. Like, you know, you have it,
Mm-hmm.
you have what you have under control. Now you can do this other thing instead of shoving everything into one basket,
Yeah.
right?
Things forced to
It's
seem and
discipline in
feel
a way.
unnatural, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so, you know, I'm very much an advocate for like putting an idea in the tuck and then like keep thinking about it and just and like when the right dots are connected,
Right.
you know, execute.
Yeah.
So yeah, we sat on it for a minute and things started coming together and launched Flip a Beat Club like a year and a half ago. So it's become a national thing now where there's chapters in Chicago, New York,
So
Arizona, Roz Fresco, who runs Baker's Club in Toronto, hosts that chapter. And it's a lot of fun, man. You know, it's all styles, all experience levels.
yeah.
We do it every third Friday of the month at Spokesman at the Highland location. And you know, you bring your whatever you used to cook up on, and you show up. We give you a sample pack when you show up.
Cool.
And everyone it's real boring for the first couple hours if you want to attend as non-beat maker, because it's just
It's
a bunch of
nurture.
nerds with headphones on, like click clacking buttons.
Yeah.
But it's really cool. It's a very
Yeah.
positive, uplifting experience, just to kind of link and create together in a space.
It's a good energy, even though people are focused in on like how, you know, pulling their sample and making it on their machines. Like the energy is still, even if they're like heads down doing it, it's different than just being in there when somebody's working on fucking tech shit on a laptop, right? Like the energy is different.
Yeah.
Still looking down, still punching out shit, but it's just you can already feel a shift in the energy.
Yeah, it's good, man. A lot of people just through the Flip a Beat Club have worked on projects together now, and you know, it's just a lot of beat makers too, man. Like they're in the house. They're like, you know, they're in a cave and they're making beats.
Yeah.
And you know, they don't come out for a lot.
For sure.
The Flip a Beat Club has just been that environment where they're comfortable to come out and create. It's linked a lot of different people. And really a goal with Flip a Beat Club launching it here too was to get, you know, more producers out of the house and to link producers with rappers. Like that's something I saw was missing here, was like rap shows, where's all the producers? Where's all the beat makers? And at the beat shows, like, where's all the rappers? Like, this is y'all should be linking like super tough. Like,
is it? That is, and I've said this before, said this again too, is like, you know, as a breakdancer and did it for so many years, you're not going to see them at any of the hip hop shows. And I yelled at them, don't blue in the face. And like, you know, I was talking about earlier, it's like you're giving people the chance to like get their performance ship up. And like, they're always, I'm talking, I love y'all. You know, I love you, fuck you, but I'm going to talk my shit for a minute. And you're always at practice and you're not going out to these things. And so, one, the city doesn't know it exists, right? The city has to know that these things do exist, because that is what creates just more of like a solidified artistic name for something. You know, you'd be like, people are like, oh shit, there's like good graffiti in this city, you know, like there's good beat makers, there's some good breakdancers, I actually live in a city. They're really important for that. It's an urban culture, but it, you know, you're connecting these and making that presence more. Spokesman's a great coffee shop, you know, like I go in there and also it's like covered by bricks, all covered like was like a dope graffiti artist too.
It was definitely like a great landing spot for us.
But Austin is I saw a piece of his in Germany once. I was at this like old spy broken down thing, but I was like, there's a fucking bricks piece like right here. It was super tight. It's in Berlin. But what I just meant to just round that out is that like the separation, I'd love to hear that y'all are closing that, because it's like we still see that within the hip hop culture. There is that separation, and it's really unfortunate because there is a lot of dope hip hop shit here, and you are bringing that to the forefront and doing these things, and that's I appreciate. Tell me more.
I don't know if I'm speaking out of line. I mean, I thought that there wasn't enough.
No, you're right.
You know, I just thought that the paths weren't crossing as much, and it was just like,
right. Yeah.
Was it? I don't think any like people are to blame. I don't think that was the problem. I just think we weren't curating events that would, you know, the b-boy world though, man. Like they still, those events here in Austin are fire.
For sure. They'll love them. Yeah.
We'll find some rappers and like obviously DJs because
Yeah.
they're DJing.
I accidentally walked into one last year in advance to the like the next round, and it was at Spokesman. I didn't realize
Spokesman South. Yeah.
I didn't realize Spokesman had that. I was like, why are there urban people in here? They look like they're more brown than usual, and why is there loud music? And I went back there, and I was like, oh my God, I had no idea there was a big open room where they host hip hop events and everything. So again, like it exists in the city, and you can find it with rather
We just go rather unique.
rather creative.
We're rather creative.
Find it here at Rather Unique Curative.
So it's like, just instead of complaining about things not existing,
right,
in the community and the culture not existing, I think really just focusing on building that community
sure.
And it's a slow burn for sure.
Well, it seems as if you mentioned as a slow burn, but as somebody who's been here, like, for fucking almost like 30 years now, like, I feel like it's got a good pace, and we're just gonna knock on everything. And like, I don't even feel like I need to, because it's, what you have is a harmony, like, with like human connection and like artistically, and that's calling to the community. Like, anytime I go to a show, so many dope people. They're just really cool people. I always have great conversation, meet some very talented people, and hear really good music. And yeah, it's a good time. Highly suggest.
Yeah, it's to have first and foremost, like, more artists supporting each other.
Yeah.
Is always dope, and it does to get those people to cross paths more often, and like I said, give them a safe space to create and showcase. Has built a really dope community, and like we look, and not just here in Austin, but all over the state. Henry B and Giuliani, Spy MC in San Antonio. We got Cult Collective. And we've taken this to Dallas and Houston for shows and tours and things like that, and it's just great to know that we have that community all over Texas, and not just in Austin. And it gives me a sense of abundance. Like, it's just good people supporting each other.
Yeah,
it brings a lot to the heart and to the soul.
Peace, love, unity, and having fun.
Yes.
Where can we find how to plug it? Give it a plug.
Rather Unique Curative, at Rather Unique Curative, Instagram, all the social medias. That will lead you to our Bandcamp and all that. Yeah, man, Big Ruck in the building.
This is good. We did a good job.